Once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. My name is Tianro. I'm currently a second-year student enrolled right here in NUS. We'd like to extend a big thank you to all of you today for taking the time to be a part of You Alive, a platform that showcases the many outstanding members of the NUS community who are championing causes dedicated to making our world a better place. Now, as always, today's You Alive session will be in 3 parts. Firstly, we will have a 10-minute talk by our speaker, Mr. Ivan Heng, followed by a 10-minute interview with Viswasa Asivan, the chairman of the You Alive Organizing Committee. Finally, there will be a 40-minute question and answer session. Now, should you wish to pose a question to Mr. Heng during this session, all you have to do is head to the microphones placed along the aisle, state your name, and then speak clearly into them. This is essential as the online community who are viewing this via webcast would not be able to hear your question otherwise. Please keep all queries short and concise, focusing on the why of the speaker's passion rather than the technicalities of his work. Thank you for your kind attention. Now sit back and enjoy.
You Alive.
We are a global university. We have a global vision. We recruit students and faculty from around the world. We give them opportunities to learn how to be effective in many cross-cultural settings. And we do this by creating a very diverse environment in NUS. And when people from outside look at the university community, what they see are very rigorously educated individuals who do well in their work.
But you know, there are so many universities that are catching up today, and we need to look for a differentiating factor.
We must have strong heart. We must go beyond just merely academic excellence.
Not what the university does and does well, but what the university stands for.
And that is the passion of the community, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, the spirit of the explorer. Somebody who is mentally curious, who has got initiative, resourcefulness, willing to break new ground, which requires boldness, and yet is somebody who is prepared to do something different, to make a contribution.
NUS needs to be seen as an organization that is the nurturing ground for people with great passion and the will to go out there and make a difference to their society. And that's what underscores You Alive. University that's alive.
Where we have members of the NUS community share their passion and their commitment and their contributions in many diverse fields.
To share their achievements, to share what they have gone through in their life with the student and the graduate community.
Could have been a student. He or she could have been or is a teacher, a faculty, could even be an employee, a staff member, or most importantly, an alumni.
Individuals who have committed themselves to do very interesting and different things in many varied aspects and dimensions of sports, arts, culture, community service, academic work. And what distinguishes them is a great passion that they bring to their work.
The speaker speak for 10 minutes about not so much what he does, but why he does it. What sort of trials and tribulations has he faced? Why does he believe in this? And after that, there will be a question and answer, an interview, a fairly tough interview. Following that, there will be a live question and answer session with an audience comprising about 100 people. You Alive will be in 3 different dimensions. One, in the auditorium, right, in front of a live audience. While that's going on, it will be carried live via webcam to the student population on campus. And the students can actually interact live while they're watching it. The third dimension is we're going to be pumping it to linked websites to more than 200 universities, some of the top universities in the world.
There's another very important dimension to You Alive, and that is it's mainly driven by our alumni.
The whole idea is to provoke thought, ignite that latent flame that I believe strongly exists in each one of us.
There are many things in life that will catch your eyes, but few will catch your heart. And only when you pursue something that you are passionate about can you achieve greater heights.
And to make even more distinctive contributions to the society we live in and to the wider world beyond.
You Alive will epitomize that.
Passion,
Action.
inspiration.
You Alive.
Emily of Emerald Hill. Saw my mother in Emily, and of course I saw myself as Richard, the son who didn't want to practice law. And it's interesting because 10 years ago I played it from Richard's point of view, and I made her a real witch, very disappointed and really angry and enraged, you know, and kind of she caused the death of her son. And 10 years later, I just played it this year. I think I played it from Emily's point of view, the mother who had hopes and dreams for her son and who wanted her and was concerned for her son's happiness and who was scared for his future, like all parents are. Help me understand my mother better. And I think that kind of is the gift that theatre affords one, you know, that understanding of humanity. Emily she's a complete fiction, so she's all plucked and primed, and you know I'm bewigged and I'm corseted and I'm on high heel. To be beautiful is very tiring. It's important to use your life for the theatre, but never to use the theatre for your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ivan Heng.
Hello. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Wow, you answer back like good students. Hi. My name is Ivan Heng. I'm the artistic director of Wild Rice. I make theatre. I was here in NUS between the years of 1984 to 1988, almost a quarter of a century ago. But it was here that I felt most alive. Well, I've been alive, I think I tried to be alive. But I remember these as really years where I was very free. And so it gives me great pleasure to be here at this forum called You Alive, to share with you a little bit of my journey and what has probably led me to be the artist that I am today. So, how did I discover my passion or this madness? Now, do you all remember the first time you got on stage? That you stood in front of a crowd and expressed yourself, maybe in a 演讲比赛, or maybe in a school play? Do you remember this moment? You will forget your geography lessons, you will forget your mathematics formulas, you'll forget many things, but you will not forget the moment you stood up on stage to be in front to act in a play. Something happens. Your molecules are rearranged. You feel the fear, and yet you go on and do it. And I think this has been what I got addicted to. This is what I got addicted to feel the fear and to do it anyway. Backstage just now, I was a little nervous. I had a little pack of whiskey. I felt the fear, and here I am doing it. So what happened, right? Well, I remembered this, and I tried to find every opportunity I had to get on stage, to sing songs, to be part of the choir, to be in the LDDS, to be part of the debating society, to always kind of stand up and speak up. Because I think maybe in me there was this need to be understood. I'm not sure if there was, if I really was, but I tried to be understood. And so all through my childhood and all through primary school and secondary school, and we didn't have teachers to tell us what to do. We didn't have mentors. We didn't have the teacher said, oh, why don't you direct the Sec 4 play? Why don't you direct the play? Or why don't you, and in JC, why don't you conduct the choir? And it was a 110 voice choir. So basically, I felt that at that time I was really allowed to do anything I wanted to do, anything I believed I could do. And it was a very, very liberating time. And I remember winning a prize, a trophy, 2 trophies for the first prize for solo and group in Pre-U2 in JC. And basically, I walked with my mother up to meet my form teacher. And my form teacher said, Mrs. Heng, aren't you proud of your son? And my mother said, what nonsense is this? He's supposed to be a lawyer, Mrs. Chu. Why are you encouraging this behavior? And so to please my mother, like I think many young people too, because you don't know what you want to do with your life at the age of 20 or 18, to please my mother, to be respectable, anyone who had half a brain had to be professional at that time. And so I did law. I studied law. It's something I never regret because I feel that somehow or other, because of the community, because of the classes, because of lectures, because of the things that we were talking about, I never went to many of these classes. I skipped them because I was too busy rehearsing. But I felt that because of the environment, somehow, maybe by osmosis or something, I developed this sense of justice, or right or wrong, because this was always in the air, this sense of fairness. And I'm so grateful for that, for all my tutors and my friends around me, But also during this time, it was a crazy, wonderful time because I had wonderful friends. I had friends like Neo Swee Lin. I had friends like Ong Keng Sen. And I remember in 1985 or 1986, I was on a school bus, taking an internal school bus on the way to the law fac. And he said to me, Ivan, this is my script for the maids. I'm going to act in a theatre works play. Can you help me learn my lines? So of course I said, yes, I can help you learn my lines. But in my mind, I thought, I want to do that. I want to act in a theatre works play. Because how many actors does it take to change a light bulb? 10, right? 1 to change the light bulb, 9 to stand around and say, I can do that better. Okay? So anyway, and that because I couldn't do a theatre works play, I thought, I have other friends. I've got Elvin Tan, I've got Haresh Sharma, I've got Neo Swee Lin, I've got Elvira Holmberg. I've got all these people who are creative and we want to tell stories. So we basically decided to form a theatre company and just do it, basically. And we didn't have to look for funding. We rehearsed in corridors. We painted sets in Elvin's home, rehearsed in the middle of the night. We rehearsed in people's homes. When there was a room and no one was there, we went in and we rehearsed. And we just basically were involved in this big act of creation. And it was all the time. And I think that, I found, in a sense, my voice in 1987 when I got invited to play a role called Malcolm Peng in Michael Chiang's Army Days. How many of you saw that production? Wow. Wow. Well, that was a moment that changed my life because suddenly I was on stage and I could say things like, my name is Recruit Peng. I live in Namli Avenue. I collect stamps. And this was the way I was speaking. And suddenly I was understood. I was understood by thousands of people. I didn't have to put on an English accent. I didn't have to be American. I could be me. And I think that suddenly I found myself and I found my voice. I held on to this feeling when I got the role of Frankie Wong in Beauty World, and then suddenly I could sing in my own accent. 'Cause I'm not a hero after all. It was wonderful, amazing. I could just be something that everybody recognized. I could be part of a community. And then this feeling and these ideas, these values kind of were put to the test when I got the role of M. Butterfly in India. And I had to see this idea of being Chinese vis-a-vis our colonial past, and because all our work was about like shaking the shackles of our colonial history. Because we so much wanted to assert ourselves. We're still obsessed about who we are today. This is something that will always kind of possess us, people who live in small countries. What are we, right? Okay, anyway. In 1990, there was a scholarship that was announced, and it was a bond-free scholarship. It was an all-expenses-paid scholarship. And I won it. Yeah, I won it. And I got a scholarship to go to study at the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, now called the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. And I flew halfway around the world, and I remember on landing, oh my goodness, my world has become round. We take travel a lot, granted. My nephews are going to Disneyland at the age of 4 or 5 nowadays. But at that time, to get on a plane and travel, because I was not rich, we were not rich, but to travel like that was amazing. And suddenly, everything that I read about Enid Blyton, all those things, fish and chips, pork pies, all that made sense. And haggis, because I was in Scotland. Right, and the Beano and the dandy, but they didn't know what to do with me because I was the first Singaporean Chinese actor, this creature to stalk the corridors of the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. What roles do we cast him in? Well, basically I struggled, and basically they told me I walked too much like a dancer because of my training, and they had to just basically break me down, in a sense, take away my ego, reduce me to a kind of neutral human being so that I could take on the roles, all the roles, and that's what you try to do as an actor. You remove yourself. And at the end of 3 years of training, I met a wonderful director who decided for the final year performance to cast me in the role of Richard III. That's Richard. Okay? And it was shocked because when he announced it, because I had prepared, they were doing two productions. I thought I was going to do Shylock. They were going to do Merchant of Venice and go to Richard III. So I said, oh, wow, I'm going to play Shylock. So I put on a prayer shawl and auditioned for Shylock. Have not a Jew eyes, blah, blah, blah. But I was not going to play Shylock, they announced. And I sat in the room and thought to myself, oh my God, I'm sure I'm going to play Buckingham. And when they announced to me that I was going to play Richard, I threw up. I felt the fear. And at the end of a 6-week process, during which I dislocated my arm, etc., 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 I won a prize. In fact, I won 3 prizes for Best Final Year Performance, Best Performance from a Shakespeare, Best Jacobean Performance, blah, 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 and Best, well, anyway, I just topped the class with this role of playing an English king because I believed, I think, in a way, and because everyone around me believed. You can't play a king alone. You need everyone to play the king for you. When a king walks in the room, everyone goes like, oh, the king is here. It's a bit like when, ministers walk into a room. Anyway, having graduated at the top of my class, I thought, okay, let's go to Edinburgh Festival. And basically, we did a play called The Woman in a Tree on a Hill by Ovidia Yu. And that play was one play in more than 1,000. We played in a tiny theater. We banged our drums on the streets and so on and so forth. And we performed this Singapore play in our own accents. And the play won a Fringe First. That's an amazing prize, a coveted prize. It's the first and only time we've won a play. Well, it maybe partly luck or whatever, but it was great to be recognized. And suddenly the theater was full, and everyone from all around the world was at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival enjoying a Singaporean play. And we felt very high, very happy, very proud. So I thought, okay, now I've made it, right? Won a big prize, won the acting thing, got myself an agent, the best agent, one of the best agents in London, who would 3 years later embezzle my money. Okay, but let's not talk about that. Okay, anyway, I was set up. I thought, wow, I'm going to audition. So basically, I was down in London, and I auditioned on a weekly basis, 2 auditions a week. That's 8 auditions a month, sometimes 12. And it was rejection after rejection after rejection, because somehow or other I was not good enough. and money was running out. And the roles that I got were interesting because I played a waiter who did kung fu, right? I played an alien. I played a nurse. I played a takeaway, Chinese chow mein, whatever you call it. And I got frustrated. I got angry because I am more than a Chinese person. I am much more than what you think I am. I need to express myself. And so and a friend of mine basically said to me, hey, Ivan, we've got 500 pounds for you to write a piece of work. Would you like to do that? 500 pounds. I said, wow, okay. That get me through 2 months. But of course, in the end, well, anyway, I started writing. And this was the time I wrote my own play, my very, very first play, called Journey West, right, which you see here. Right? And it was all a story about a Singaporean boy who went to London to seek fame and fortune. Okay? But the interesting thing was I called my company the Tripitaka Theatre Company, based on Suan Zhang, Journey West. And one of the stories that was most interesting to me was about the Journey West being a journey of enlightenment. Because when a man from the East, okay, gets on the Journey West being a journey of enlightenment. Because when a man from the East gets on his horse and rides west. And if he rides west far enough, he will end up in the east where he first began. And that perhaps is the beginning of a journey of enlightenment. So this is really exciting and interesting to me as an idea because I felt a real longing for home and I was missing it. But I was neither English enough nor Chinese enough. I was this weird hybrid called a Singaporean. You see, nobody understood us. Nobody knew what laksa was chicken rice. Nobody. Nowadays they know. Last time nobody knew. Okay? So, this play, basically, which was written on a budget of 500 pounds, was performed in a school in North London for a nearly all black audience of kids. And I heard them in the toilet after that, because I was removing my costume in the bathroom, and they're going like, whoa, that's about racism, innit? And suddenly they got it. They understood my story. This play was later to travel to 12 cities around Europe and North America and through Southeast Asia. But it started on a little whim, just a small little idea, just a spark of inspiration which came from this need to tell stories. And I started to tell stories. So with Tripitaka Theatre Company, we started making work. And we started touring. And at the end of it, in 1996, the summer of 96, there was a retrospective of Ivan Heng's work at the Waterman's Art Center. And everyone's really excited. And they were going to do 3 plays in 3 weeks, and all the tickets were sold out. And when I was on stage performing Journey West, sometimes how as an actor, your third eye is still performing. So you're in character, but you still can observe the audience. We have this talent, we're freaks, right? I looked out into the audience, and I saw the professors from the School of Oriental and African Studies. And I saw the curators from the British Museum, Southeast Asian Collection. And I saw the artists from the British Chinese Artists Association. And I saw, people that have been following my work and supporting it through these years, and many, many, many Chinese people. And I looked at myself and said, oh my God, I'm actually performing and writing myself into this very box that I'm trying to break out of. And that was when I thought I had to go home. Because in my mind, the theater really was a really important place. Theater was about community. I wanted to reach out to a national consciousness. I wanted to reach out to an international consciousness. I didn't just want to be British Chinese or Singaporean Chinese. I just wanted to be in a box. I wanted to make work that mattered. And so I decided to come home, to make work that was closer to heart and home, that would make sense to me. And I have been home since 1997, and in this past 15 years, it's been wonderful. I've got a company now, but apart from Wild Rice, I've worked with everyone from SRT, from the Necessary Stage, through the Singapore Theatre Festival. I work with the community because we are a very tightly knit community that actually cares for each other. Don't believe this idea that, the community is bitchy or against each other, because actually we are under siege, and therefore we stick together quite tightly and we look out for each other. So anyway, I'm home, right? What is it that we do? What is it that we do as theater artists? Well, Do you recognize this boy? Running across the water, carrying the youth Olympic flame. He's running to the darkness, and he's running on water. And that's how it starts, really. Running. Every place starts off is a journey into the unknown. We don't know what's ahead of us, but we carry a torch. And when we get things right, sometimes it feels like you're running on water, because every place starts with just an idea, a flash, right? It could be a movement, it could be a gesture, it could be a newspaper article, but then someone writes it down on a piece of paper. And then we get actors to act it, and then you get a director to direct it, and then you get a lighting designer to light it, and then you get a set designer to craft the space, and then you get a costume designer to design the costumes, and then you get a marketing department to market it, and then you got finance to work it out, and then suddenly it becomes this huge thing that actually brings together a community of people. It is the most collaborative art form. This is why I love the theater, because it's the most collaborative art form that I know, because it's not about you. It's about the we. Yeah? So, this is what I do. I do theater. And that final ingredient to theater, apart from all the artists that work together, is the audience. And we always have you in mind with everything we do. Every single artist working on theater has the audience in mind, because we want to meet you. So what is theater? Theater is really a group of people, right, meeting another group of people and getting together to try and enrich the experience of being human. That's what we do. We take a slice of life, we take a snapshot of it, and we frame it so we can observe it, reflect on it, think about it, act on it. Or maybe not. Maybe enjoy it. Yeah? It is a forum. I think of theater as a forum, as a public forum. Just a very, very old-fashioned way of thinking of theater in any community. Yeah? India had it, the Indians had it, the Chinese had it, the Greeks had it, everyone had it. But it basically is a forum where people who live in the same community, who speak the same language, come together to share an experience. And this experience could be celebrating your identity. This experience is negotiating dilemmas. This thing is about addressing injustice, mourning great losses, celebrating, who we are. That's what theater is. Yeah? And therefore, I feel that when we do theater, I feel that the theater is an important institution in any community, especially like any community. It's as important as a library, as a sports complex, as a hospital, as a police station, as a court of law. It's an important part of society, right? So sometimes I wonder when the authorities that be say, we don't want to fund you. Because actually it's the people's money, it's not the authorities' money, right? So it's very confusing. But anyway, do we let that stop us? No. Because our mission is a calling. And that's what the artists here feel that they're doing, right? Now, real theater and good theater must be all kinds of things. Yeah? It must be as challenging as Alfian Sa'at. It must be as beautiful as Huzil Sulaiman. It must be as provocative as Ilan Govan. It must be as naughty as, it must be full of fantasy like Ovidia Yu, or full of compassion like Harish Sharma. We have these playwrights, and we have been watching this theater for many, many years. Okay? This is what theater must be. And I believe, in the end, essentially, that theater can change the world, which is why I continue to do it. I believe that theater provides a commentary on our daily lives, that it holds up a mirror to our nature. I believe that a community's happiness, a community's well-being is based on having a good working theater, and sometimes a good working theater must speak truth to power. Got it? Yeah. So, in Singapore, theater has found a very interesting place. Because actually we're just so scared of looking at issues. We're always told we are a small island, so let's not rock the boat. I prefer to rock the boat because sometimes I want to find out whether there are pirates on it or not. Just rock the boat a bit, right? But we're told we shouldn't talk about race, we shouldn't talk about religion, we shouldn't talk about sex, we shouldn't talk about sexual identities, we shouldn't talk about any of these things that actually should be concerning us human beings. This is problematic. And then we get all panicky when someone, writes these blogs, like Jason Ong, is it? Yeah. And then we send the police and catch him, tangkap there. Catch, shut them up. And then the next day, the ministers go and shake hands, apologize to the principal, and everything's fine. But really, we need a forum, a place like the theatre in which we can get together and think and reflect and share and discuss and debate. The National Arts Council decided not to fund the Man Singapore Theatre Festival 4 months before the festival went on. But we decided to continue again because I could not let this festival go on. Because like in any repressive regime, left or right, they try and suppress artists, okay, from speaking the truth. So what actually happened was that this festival, funny enough, became the most popular festival ever. 90% of its tickets were sold out. 24 out of 32 performances were sold out, packed to the rafters. The best festival. And did the world end? Was there riots on the street? No. Did we get wiser? Did we feel a bit more for each other? Did we become a bit more compassionate? Did we try to understand what each other's feeling? Yes, we did. So, this is what I do. Now, Animal Farm. What's my time like? Animal Farm. Okay. Am I way over? Oh no, I have to stop now. Okay, Animal Farm. So this is one thing, right? We have feedback sessions, okay? Feedback sessions. I'm sorry, I hope I don't feel I'm talking at you. But we have feedback sessions, and there were students at MGS and students at SCGS. Fantastic schools, right? Amazing, right? Wonderful, right? So at the end of Animal Farm, this little girl who's like 12 years old raises her hand, and she says, "Excuse me, Mr. Heng." I said, "Yes? Aren't you all scared of what? That there might be MPs or ministers watching the play, then they come and and I said, what, catch us? Jail us? Why are you so scared of your government? Shouldn't you be working hand in hand with your government to make Singapore a better place? Where do you get this idea from? Which teacher put the fear in you, or did your parents put the fear in you? Oh my goodness. What's happened to you, child? I was really sad. I felt my heart breaking. And then there was another child, bright child, 16 years old. "Mr. Heng, do you think we should be making fun of politicians and satire, poking fun at government, our government like that?" So I said, "Well, I don't know. This is about what you see. Do you see us doing it, and do you think we should do it? Because in the theater, we call it satire. We're holding up a mirror. Do you think there's a place for us to do this here in Singapore?" And she said, "No, because I love my country." And my immediate answer to that was, so do we. So do we. Thank you. Biswa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ivan Heng. Thank you. Brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
And especially what he said at the end, we do too. We love our country too. And just because we ask the inconvenient question doesn't mean that we love it any less. Perhaps we love it more. Three words stood out for me in what you shared with us. Number one, you talked about justice.
Yeah.
Then you talked about home.
Yeah.
Then you talked about siege. These three words stood out for me. I don't know whether they stood out for you. And I think these three words combined defines the artist, defines the person, the individual in you. But let me ask you this question.
Is it? I sound so sad, huh?
Yeah.
Is it?
No, it's not sad.
You're framing this.
No,
but
it's not
okay.
sad. It's not sad.
No,
You know what
no,
it
no,
is?
no.
It's
Yeah.
miserable.
Yeah, yeah.
It is.
It's great.
It is about this.
Yeah.
We live in a society that I feel is linearly programmed.
Yeah,
Right? Linear.
yeah,
Right? Very engineering.
yeah.
So not surprisingly, we have a predominance of engineers in cabinet. Right? And many of whom are also scholars. It is a society that has been conditioned to think rational over emotional. Not that it's wrong, but that is the way our society is, right? And in such a society, theatre, the arts, not to mention philosophy, is nothing more than indulgence. So, do you think as an artist, Ivan, regardless of how beautifully you perform, how talented you might be, do you think you really are taken seriously in this society?
I think we have not yet learned to recognize and reward excellence and appreciate it. When Iskandar Ismail won the Cultural Medallion for Composition and Music, when he went up to pick up his award, you know what the background music was? Kitaro. I was like, can't you choose a piece of his music? He's just won the Cultural Medallion. What are you thinking? When I directed the National Day Parade, the chairman of the EXCO and the chairman of the parade, won gold awards. And I won a silver award together with sponsors. And every artist who actually has directed the National Day Parade feels sad about this because it feels that we do not actually recognize the amount of work, the sleepless nights we spend rummaging, dreaming, thinking, pulling a team together so that your parade can be wonderful. You know? It's all about, well, I don't know. No, we have to work out this way of kind of recognition. But I have to say that being in Singapore is wonderful because artists have so much work to do. And the work is exciting and the work is relevant. And you know, my friends come from Australia, my friends come from England and from Europe, and they go like, oh my goodness, your audience is amazing. They're from all ages, they're from every walk of life, they are young, they are old, they're professionals, where are they? How do you get this audience? Whereas like, you know, in England or even America, they're all the Blue Rinse Brigade. You know, they you know, so kind of older people and not kind of, you know, yeah. So it's not as diverse, but I feel that the theatre brings people together here. And we span the ages. So that's really exciting. So there's a lot of work to do.
So you are not taken seriously enough yet. I'm not talking about you.
We are taken very seriously. They're scared of us. That's why they keep cutting our funding.
Okay. Yeah. That's correct. That's very correct.
Yeah.
But it's been an uphill task, right?
So, yeah.
Now, you want to share with us how you overcame the news that funding was cut for the theatre festival. How did you overcome it? I mean, I remember at that point, you know, Audrey, my wife, and, you know, we had conversations. And the point here is you were momentarily shattered.
Yeah.
Yes? You want to share that with us? How did you feel? Did you feel betrayed? But yet, you surmounted it. And came up with a festival this year that was incredible. I don't know how many of you actually attended a performance, one performance at least, at the Man Theatre Festival.
Wow, thank you for coming.
It was incredible. It was really incredible. And it was faithful to who we are. I think it captured a lot of that, right? It was honest. But what made you, as an artist, surmount the disappointment?
We had just performed Animal Farm in Tasmania. We were the curtain raiser for the 10 Days on an Island, a big international festival in Tasmania. And we performed 7 performances in a 700-seat theatre to standing ovations in which the actors came out 4 times. So we were on a high, right, on the Saturday night or Sunday night. And the Monday, I got in the car with Tony, and we said, we're going to take a holiday. We need a holiday. And when we were driving, suddenly along the roads, there was roadkill. It was like kangaroo, wallaby, possum, kangaroo, possum, possum. I said, oh my God, this is a sign. What's happening here? This is not good. And true enough, a phone call came and said, the NAC has got news for you. And the National Arts Council basically said to us on the phone, as we pulled on a kind of lay-by on the road, that we're going to not fund you because we've decided that we shouldn't inconvenience you. You know, if we know your place will probably be very challenging and they might kind of, you know, be very critical of government policy and maybe even some government personalities and, you know, all very, very sensitive, Ivan, all your synopsis. They didn't even have the plays. They just had synopsis. So it might be kind of like, you know, and we don't, and you know, we don't have the situation where we have to give you the money and then, you know, halfway through it, we take the money back. So basically, we're just going to say, you know, have the festival and be independent. I was like, but my festival is on in August, it's now April. Thank you very much. And I tell you, we were lost. I didn't know what to do. Because we just kind of drove around aimlessly. Because I had already planned these plays. I had spoken to artists for over a year. We had a season plan, you know. And we had an amazing season that I thought was really important because, you know, when I started the Singapore Theatre Festival, I felt that there's got to be another way of celebrating being Singaporean apart from the National Day Parade. You know? I didn't want the state to basically co-opt and kind of claim all the space and so how to tell our story. I want us to be able to tell our own stories too. Why can't we tell our own stories? That was what the Singapore Theatre Festival is about. That's why it continues to, I think because it reaches out to people, it touches people. It really, you know, reaches out to the audience. And so because of that, because of these reasons, because I just felt that we decided to continue. And a week later, we came home and I didn't know what happened. It was, you know, just amazing because we had a phone call from Man Investments. And they said, we're looking to sponsor a project. And I said, wow, okay. And I didn't even know it was Man Investments. I just basically, you know, we pitched blind to a bank, to an unknown investment firm, X. It was called the X Singapore Theatre Festival. And we explained the power of the festival and its literary roots, that this was going to be the literature of Singapore, and it is the literature of Singapore. I have no doubt that all these plays will be studied in the future. They are the literature. But you know, I wanted to say, well, Orwell was banned, Shakespeare was banned, Tennessee Williams was banned. So basically, hey, we got very good playwrights lah. But I had to do my job as, you know, the artistic director to just say, let's go, and let's believe. Let's believe to see. You know, a lot of people say, oh, see to believe. But I wanted to just say we see it. And everyone, every single artistic director, every single, you know, playwright, every single, and I think that this kind of gave us something, a fire in our belly, because this festival somehow felt more precious than ever before. And so we did it. And I'm so happy so many people came. It was wonderful.
Isn't there a message? I mean, you shared this with me some time back. You felt that there was a message. The message is that when you unshackle from, you know, from this dependency, you know, you really grow. And when you have enough faith, people actually stand up for you. And people did stand up for you. You didn't ask for it. You didn't have to ask for it.
Yeah.
Which means that you did arrive without you even realizing it.
Yeah. We just followed our passion. We just followed what was true. It's not dependency. What irritates me about this, right, this funding cut, is that what are you saying to us as a policy? That you don't fund work that is challenging? That you only want to fund propaganda? And whose money is it? 13,000 people come to the festival. They're all taxpayers. This is their money. Fund us so that we can make all ticket prices cheaper, $10 cheaper for them. It's their money, not your money. This is no. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, let's throw it open to questions on the floor. Yes, Valerie.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Valerie, and I'm representing the online audience today. I've got a question here that's left on the website. So it's a couple of questions in one, so maybe you can answer them one by one. This is by username Raveley. Is there anything in your career that you regret? Shows you wish you had staged and been a part of, or shows you wish you hadn't been involved in? That's the first thing. The second one is, how different is the experience of directing a production for the stage as opposed to one for a ceremony like the Youth Olympics?
Okay.
So two things.
Remind me, the first question was about?
Okay, anything in your career that you regret?
I tell you something, I'm lucky. I've never regretted anything, but that's because I'm curious about everything. I'm curious about every project that I take on, because it's all about the human condition, right? So what's there to regret, right? And also, I've been lucky because I've always just tried to work with the best. If I have to give any young people here, any kind of like advice, it's like, just work with the best. It's much better to be a second spear carrier from the left in a first-rate production than to be Hamlet in a crappy show. You learn so much more as long as you make sure you work with the best. From even if it's a tiny role, do it. They say, oh, I'm going to play Hamlet. Waste time. You don't learn anything. And then you develop a kind of false sense of reality. So I think that, always work with the best. Second thing is, the second question was? The difference. No difference between doing a small one-man show and the Youth Olympic Games. It's the same. Okay, so the scale may be bigger. When I did the Youth Olympic Games, I had like 57 football fields. We were talking to people to light the crowns of buildings and shoot fireworks from them. I had 7,000 actors, right? And then, in my one-man show, I'm alone. Or in some one-man shows, I've directed their lone actors, like occasional Orchid, Ang Tao Mui, all that. But it's the same thing, because the 7,000, I have to light, I have to dress, I have to choreograph. Sometimes, of course, during the Youth Olympic Games and the National Day Parade, I was a director, but I felt more like a traffic warden. Faster! Faster! Move right, turn right, go in circles! So I was just directing traffic. But at the same time, I think we were all telling stories. And what was amazing, what's interesting about the same thing is that I have the same team. So I have people that I love and I trust, and I have great admiration and respect for working with me. So I have people like Frederick Lee designing costumes. I had Brian Gotong Tan doing my multimedia. I had Mac Chan, who lit Emily of Emerald Hill 10 years ago, working with me, lighting NDP, lighting YOG. So actually, it was our little production, but I had an amazing team. I had an army, a wonderful army. One thing we do really well, we got an army, just like call in the troops, right? It's amazing. Just galvanize that power and we go. And great organizational skills, We can organize things. That's what Singapore is good at. Yeah, organizing. But they thought I was mad. Again, I was crazy because after doing NDP, in which, I said, I want 7-story blocks. Do you remember that NDP?
Yep.
Yeah. The next time I said, I want you to fill the whole floating platform with water. 200,000 tons of water. And I love engineers. Don't get me wrong. I love engineers because I trusted our engineers to solve our problems, to make sure that the platform didn't sink, to make sure that our lighting was fine. And the thing about them was that they were passionate. They were convicted of the cause, so they came out every day with different ideas of how to solve this problem because they believed in the show and they were creating. They were doing what they were meant to do, which is solving problems. Wonderful. So, I love engineers. Wonderful. Yeah, it's a team. That's what it's about.
Yes, Prasad, you're redeemed now. You want to ask a question? No? Chitra? Did you put up your hand just now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, while you think of your question, yes, sir, yes. It's our regular friend.
Hi.
From across the causeway.
Wow.
Yeah. My name is Tan Sipik. I just want to know, you say the artist must go and tell people a story, right? But assuming you have no story to tell, then what are you going to do? That's one thing. The second thing, you say you stand on the stage and you feel challenged, fearful, but you still go ahead and tell what you're supposed to tell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But has it got anything to do with your personality? If you are very shy and very unobtrusive people, you will just run away from the stage. But it's the person who wants to exhibit himself. I'm so and so.
Yeah.
I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah.
This sort of personality then can be that. So if I don't belong to that group, I cannot be an artist. Can you comment?
Yeah. The wonderful thing about theatre is that there's space for everybody. I don't think that, I never privilege actors because behind every actor is, like in Aladdin right now, there are 6 seamstresses working every night to make sure that you're dressed, that your trousers don't fall off you. And they have fun, and they feel loved, and they feel part of the community. There are people who are technically minded, who want to kind of create space. So they're not out there expressing themselves. They're out there working with their scale rulers about set design. So I think that the wonderful thing about the theatre is that it's very, very welcoming and there's space for everybody. Now, I don't know about the stories, about whether or not we want to tell stories. I think that everybody has a story to tell. Everybody. Yeah. It is a very basic human need to tell stories and to listen to stories. You know, cavemen, yeah, they go out, right? Hunter-gatherer, come back, right? Wife, cook, right? After cook, sit around the fire. What do? Tell stories. After that, go make babies. But tell stories. Paint on the walls, record your life. So it's a very, very basic human instinct. So if you sit down, Uncle, sir, if you were to tell me the story of your life, I'd be interested. It's only whether or not we want to listen. You've lived, obviously, a very handsome life. Yeah.
That's a great point. We all have stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could talk to you because I'm also trained in theatre, so I can throw my voice to you.
Wonderful.
Wow. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Oh, you know.
It's amazing, isn't it, that
Yeah.
people online can hear
No,
us.
the reason why we want you to go to the mic is for the web audience
Yeah.
outside.
Ivan, I must say it's been a great pleasure to be here. I once had the
Sorry,
opportunity.
could you introduce yourself,
Sorry,
please?
my name is Ashwin Khanke. I'm still studying at NUS at my
Good
age.
on you.
I once did a role as an Englishman in Australia, and then they said, "Oh, wow, that was a good job, especially considering it's a foreign language." And I said, "English is not a foreign language, at least not the way I saw it." So, do you sometimes get asked this question, or have you ever considered whether English, the language which you express yourself best in,
Yeah.
is a foreign language to you, just because you are ethnically Chinese or Singaporean or Asian or whatever?
Yeah.
Has that thought ever crossed your mind?
Yeah. My standard answer to you speak good English, your English is great, is so is yours.
Yeah.
But the thing about English is that it does not belong to the English anymore.
Yeah.
That English belongs to everyone. So the Indian people are talking English like this. The Thai people are talking English like this. The Hong Kong people are talking like this. You watch Boeing? Right? It's so interesting because English is everyone's and English is so plastic. When I was in Scotland, everyone, the hot thing at that time was to speak English, was to do Shakespeare in Scots. Now is the winter of our discontent. Made glorious summer, and and so on and so forth. To be or not to be, fashion chaps, right? But it was just really about using English as we all know it. So I think that's basically it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Hi, my name is Gordon.
You are, sorry?
Gordon.
Okay, project your voice, please.
Project.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Mike.
All right.
Hello, Gordon.
Hi, Ivan.
Hi.
Okay. Actually, I like to rock the boat because the rats may come out first, so I think that's a better thing to do with it. But I think, seriously speaking, you mentioned in your video clip that you said to use your life for theatre, but not theatre for life. Could you expand on that a little bit? And the other thing I want to ask you is that you mentioned as your title is artistic director, as opposed to what? Like what other directors are there?
Non-artistic director.
Yeah. But what does it really
Yes,
mean for you?
understand.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. You see, we're artists, so basically we're hunter-gatherers, we're magpies, yeah? And we a lot of the times use our life for the theatre. So in playing Emily, I just remembered all the women in my life, my mother, my sister, my aunts, and I remembered how they kind of, my grandmother, how they kind of got their way using the politics of the kitchen and the bedroom. And so I understood Emily from that point of view, and I also I was the son that did not want to practice law. Richard hanged himself. I'm lucky I was able to kind of have a mother that wasn't, or that I was strong enough to kind of follow my dream. So, but I don't believe in like using that as a psychotherapy. I don't believe in I don't like this idea of applied drama, because unless you're very trained, we try and justify drama. We try and justify theater and education. We try and make it a worthy thing, as if, its very own value, its theaterness is not valuable. And also the other thing is I work with many young actors, and then sometimes they say this, they use this word, wow, it was cathartic, man. And it's like, no, you're not doing it for yourself. You're not masturbating. You're doing it for an audience. Remember them. You are a public servant. You are serving them. You're not using this art form for yourself to shock sendiri. You understand what I'm saying? So this was the idea of not using, you use everything in your life, for the theater, everything. But you don't necessarily want to use your life for the theater, but not the theater for your life. As an artistic director, my job really is to, I'm the founder artistic director, so I basically came up with this vision for Wild Rice. What should the work be? And basically this work was that it had to be a work that would be a forum for the people. And we talked about it just now. And so I just make sure that the work that we program or people that we work with the program kind of stick with this mission. It's a very broad mission because it also gives us permission to do classics, like Romeo and Juliet, which I'm going to direct next year, like Boeing, like, Blithe Spirit, and, and so on and so forth, Animal Farm. We also do new works, right? We also do new works which is done under the purview of the Singapore Theatre Festival, and we also do works from the Singapore canon, which are in existence already, but we take them out, because it's only when you repeat works that you can understand the veracity and the value of a work. That's how a work becomes a classic. And we are building this library. We are building this wonderful body of work, which we now have, you see. So, but as long as, but all this work, first and foremost, the work has got to be has to celebrate. It has to celebrate who we are, and to celebrate, first and foremost, the talents that we have here in Singapore. So I try and, make sure that, and the other thing that we're very into is nurturing young people and providing a safe, optimistic, and supportive platform for artists to be free, to feel no fear or favor. Yeah, that's quite Wild Rice. Yeah, come, yeah.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Marianne. I've got a few questions which are not very well thought out because it's kind of all in my mind.
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So my first question is, you talked about funding and how it got cut, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, every organization would have an objective that they want to further.
Yeah.
So instead of because when you get funding from them, right? So you're kind of like tied to them, and you have to play within certain boundaries.
Sure.
Do you think it's viable for the theatre community in Singapore to cut funding, be independent, speak the truth, whatever you want, of course, like not saying racist things. Do you think it's economically viable for that?
Yes.
And secondly, you talked about
Funding.
Funding, first one. Second one is that you talked about the theatre community being a very tight-knit community.
Yeah.
Do you think that because of that, because every time when I see posters for plays, they always spot the same few names? Adrian Pang, Neo Swee Lin, Harish Sharma, Alfian Saad. We all know these people.
Yep.
Do you think there's space for new players to come
Yes.
up? And
There's
finally,
space.
because of the funding thing and the same people over and over again thing, I find that theatre prices in Singapore, the tickets are quite expensive.
Yes.
Right. You don't get to see good theatre for anything less than $30. Because of this, do you think you would cater to only a specific demographic?
Yep.
And how do you reach out to people who, don't really want to pay $30 for
Yep.
1 night, 2 hours?
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Who
Wonderful.
says they're not well thought through?
Thank you, Marianne. Wonderful. So, how much does the government actually fund Wild Rice? 4%. But it's symbolic. It's symbolic. Because we have to raise the rest of the money. And we are 90% dependent on ticket sales. So all the time, my marketing department doesn't sleep. They work overnight to get the word out, get the word out. And they are wonderful because they do it because they believe in the work. But I wish that the energy could be put in creating the work. So yes, we are more or less, for Wild Rice is very lucky because over 10 years we've developed an audience. Okay, so we have an audience, we have corporate sponsors, we have angels, it's all small pieces. And it all comes together, and Tony Trickett, our executive director, kind of puts it all together kind of in a sum, and it suddenly makes sense, and everyone gets paid at the end of the month. And we are very, very proud of the fact that we always pay our actors in advance. We've never been late with a check. It's amazing. So it's very, very important. You know, we run like a tight ship. So that's one thing. Secondly is about actors, right?
Sorry, if I can just add
Yeah.
to that. So it's a tight ship. It's touch and go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's touch and go.
Going back to, Marion, going back to your question, when are you going to be truly financially independent? You can't be financially independent if you continue at this
Yeah.
level, right? So,
Yeah.
so how would you answer that
I'd
question?
love to have our own theatre because right now we pay $2 out of $10 goes back
Right.
to the National Arts Council in theatre rental, or $1.50. So actually, in our 10th anniversary year, we funded the National Arts Council. And their 4% doesn't even cover our GST. It's shameful.
So Ivan, so the question is, when and if it's possible for the theatre community in Singapore to be able to truly and sustainably stand on your own feet without having to look for a handout?
It's not a handout.
Or whatever
You're talking
you wanna
about
call
like
it.
you don't. This is the point about it. The point about it is it's not. It's the people's money. So fund the people's experience, fund the people's education, inspiration, excitement, pleasure, joy. Put that money there. Why not?
In the absence of that,
In the absence
wisdom?
of that, artists will just continue. We have continued. It's just what we are. We were just made that way. We're just wired that way to want to tell stories.
Okay.
So, we do what we can and we continue. So, okay, you know something? I couldn't get into theatre works in the early days. I was there stamping my feet. So I just went out and formed my own, did my own thing. So we formed Necessary Stage. So in any situation where you kind of feel this thing, you should just go and do your own thing. I expect all the young people to tell me I'm irrelevant at some point. To tell them I'm stupid. Because that's how society progresses. So I don't want to be sitting in this chair forever. I want to be irrelevant at some point, and then I go, oh my goodness, we have developed, yay. Okay? But I think that this accusation, if you come and see Aladdin now, you'll see all fresh faces. Yeah, I think about 70% of the cast has never worked with Wild Rice before. And we have young people, we have 50 young children from the age of 4 to 11 working on the show, training, developing, and we're keeping a lookout for them. We care for them. And you know something? Adrian Pang has to work. What's he going to do? Gurmit Singh, we have to do. This is what we do. This is how we make our living, what?
Yep.
So I want a job too. And I have been working 25 years. You better give me the role because I am damn good. But sometimes I don't get cast in a role because he's younger. He's more handsome. It's not personal. Yeah. Okay. Another question? What was it? What was the third question?
Did he answer your third question?
Ticket prices.
Ticket
Yeah.
prices.
If I had my way, I would do cheap Tuesdays. I would do every day, basically 20 minutes before the show, all students with a student card can come and watch the show at half price. But we can't afford it because of theatre rental. We can't afford it because we have people to pay. We've got actors to pay. So what we're trying to do is to find, and if you know any corporation who is interested in young people to develop their minds, to inspire them, Okay, maybe NTUC. Dream on. But maybe, no. I believe that they have a role. But you know, I'm being facetious. But I mean, any corporation, step up to the plate and say, we will fund young people's education and inspiration, help them to feel something, give them an experience. It'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to wrap for now, but don't worry, those of you who are interested in a more in-depth, heart-to-heart conversation with Ivan, we'll have another half an hour, 45 minutes outside. Because many of you may want to leave because of other appointments and engagements, so we'll have to wrap at this point in time, but let me have the privilege of asking you the final question for this evening, here, formally.
Yeah.
If you were to take theatre out of the equation of Singapore society, okay, if you were to take theatre out of the equation, right, theatre the way you defined it, do you believe that society would just go on, normal, and if we won't, what would be the deficit? In other words, how relevant? Is theatre a good to have, or do you feel theatre is increasingly a must have if society were to progress?
I think that the theatre is necessary for any community. It's an opportunity for us for society to talk to itself. You know, a society that doesn't have this kind of feedback, because you sit in a room, you know what someone is thinking next to you. You know how people are feeling. You know where people are angry, or you know people are laughing. You know if people are think that it's ridiculous, or people are yeah. You get a chance to understand it. So I feel it's completely necessary. And in this day and age where our society is becoming more globalized, becoming more digitalized, where the human scale is being lost, yeah, this is the only art form which does not reduce the human scale, because you still have to see a human being on stage, and you still have to hear a human voice, and you still have to see a human being go through things that you go through, because his job or her job is to hold up a mirror to you. That theatre actually is something that it would be a great loss. It will be a great loss, not just to our community, but to theatre anywhere in the world. Yeah?
And would you agree that as we are progressing from this stage, that introspection as a society, especially multicultural society, multifaceted society, is all the more important? And let me share, when I attended some of the plays for this year's Man Festival, what I felt very heartened by was there were racist remarks made on stage, intentionally. Sometimes you need a racist remark to be made to feel it here, and for you to collectively reject it. Yes. But when you are defended or protected from it, then you could go into a state of denial. So in short, my sense is theatre is what makes society honest and what keeps us clean. Yes. And you take that away from us, we exist as a country, but we have no chance of being a nation. And that's the sense. Yeah. And I'm sure all of you will agree with me that it's because we have individuals like Ivan. And I'm not saying this because you're here.
Really?
I'm saying this even though you're here.
No, thank you. Yeah.
It's because we have individuals like Ivan who have decided to take the path not often taken in our society. To be true to himself, to have an ego, and it's not wrong to have an ego, but that ego has actually served society well. And I'm sure you'll all agree with me that you've made us all proud, not just as members of the NUS fraternity, but as Singaporeans.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ivan, we've got something for you.
Wow.
A picture of you and I holding hands.
Wow, that's lovely.
It was taken just now while we were here.
Oh,
Right?
great.
See how good technology is?
Fantastic.
This is for you, Ivan.
Wow.
And,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this is for us from you. This, you can leave it here.
Thank you.
You know this blank space here is
Yeah.
for you to say how much you love us.
I will. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
That is a very difficult to forge signature. You want to read it out?
Have amazing adventures. Believe to see. All my love, Ivan.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ivan Heng.
Thank you, Viswa. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, online community.
Okay, I have a simple announcement to make. Ivan Heng, without any prompting from us, went ahead to arrange for a special 15% discount for all those of us who attended You Alive today for his play Aladdin.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes.
all they have to do is what?
All you have to do is call the Cystic hotline and you just say, I want tickets to Aladdin. You alive? We're alive! The password is you alive.
You
Thank
alive.
you. See you at the theater.
You can, it's more effective if you put that across as a question. All right?
You
Now-
alive? Hello?
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Those of you who can't join us, perfectly fine, thank you. This is a chance for you to interact with Ivan. And those of you who want a closer discussion with him, in about 15-20 minutes, we'll adjourn to another room and we'll have a more intimate chat. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the last You Alive session for the year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will get someone to
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in today's You Alive session. Should you wish to continue in discussion with the speaker, an additional session will be held from 8:55 p.m. to 9:25 p.m. in Seminar Room 1. If you wish to nominate a future speaker, you can do so via the feedback forms given to you earlier. Additional forms are also available at registration. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.